take you through the watering system for the chickens. I made it out of, two 55-gallon drums. They're nestled inside of here, so that the sun stays off them so they don't get too hot. And they retain enough heat during the winter that they don't freeze. I mean, we're in Tucson. I know that some places freezing is a problem. We do get to freezing temperatures, but it's not long enough that before the sun comes out and warms everything up. And then these are 2-inch pipes. I specifically went for 2-inch so that I would have the thickness to where they wouldn't freeze over. What I did is I got my vents, and those vents go up. I put a cap on with holes drilled in it so air can go out or in as water goes out or in. I fed these into here, and I glued this together knowing full well that if I ever had a problem with it, that I would need to cut it off and then just make it again. But these PVC pieces are just so cheap that, what's the point of buying all these extra connections and stuff to make it to where they can come unscrewed when you could rebuild this whole length right here for like $5, $8. Anyway, so 2 inches comes down to here, turns an elbow, and then here's where I did start thinking ahead though. I put a screw thing in because it helps me when I'm installing or maintaining the red water nipples. Now these are so much better. I mean, this one's leaking slowly. You can kind of see I do need to go through a bunch of these and clean them because we do have such hard water in Tucson that it does mess with the seals. But I went with these because I did have some Tupperware pans out, and I was changing the water every day, and it was so much work. People say when you switch over to these, I had some people say, oh, you're gonna have to do it slowly. No, don't do it slowly. Do it immediately by immersion. Just remove the old pan. Chickens are very curious. One will peck at it, get water. The others will follow. I mean, they're gonna figure it out before they die of thirst. If you put 2 sources of water, the chicken's gonna pick its favorite, and it's gonna keep using it when its favorite is gonna be standing in its own poopy water. It's just a fact. They can be really disgusting animals if you don't know chickens very well. So anyway, so this watering system, it goes down over, and then it goes into that one where I started putting in twist connectors too. Now, I built this side of the coop after I built this first side. Okay, so I rent, and I built this with the expectation that I would be moving someday, moving this to the country or moving out, and so I wanted to make this be able to be torn down. So in that sense, I did put twist connectors on my pipe in specific places, so that can come on from you start backwards from the spigot, so that comes undone, then you rotate this undone, and then you rotate this undone, and the water system is disassembled, so it's gravity fed, so a lot of the sediment might come down. I mean, it does come up above the bottom lip of the barrel, so yeah, there might be some sediment that ends up getting in the bottom of the barrels, but with that being said, I could still kind of clean it out. And I'm using tap water, so it's not like I'm using reclaimed rainwater or anything. So the next part is, how do I fill it? So what I did was, let's see if I can do this on camera, is I have a spigot here that just goes into the system so that in an emergency, I mean, I've got 110 gallons on tap. Granted, the chickens peck at it, so whatever the chicken disease the chickens have, this water system probably has too, so I would need to boil it. But it's just nice to have, know that I have 110 gallons about on hand. So what I did is I went and I bought these connectors right here. And basically what this does is this turns into a double male. Okay, so the male screws in there and the male comes out there. And then what I do is I take my hose. Let me see how let's see how I can do this. So I got these quick disconnects from Walmart. So yeah, so the quick disconnect goes on. I mean, you can do this with I just like having the quick disconnect, but you can do this with the regular hose fitting. So then I let go, and then I open that up. And I let it flow in. And it takes about 13 or 14 minutes to fill when it's completely empty. The neat thing about this system is it doesn't leak. Some people, you know, they're like, oh, just get an automatic water and hook it up to your water line. I stay away from that. I've got a fish tank that's also a hydroponic system that I'll do a video on later that is also needs to be constantly refilled, and I did this system with a float valve and a 55-gallon tank. The thing is, if you have a pipe break or it was some sort of addition that you made like this and you're gone for the weekend and you come back, it's still going to be flowing and your insurance might not cover it. So with this system, it's nice because it automates it, but it also keeps you involved enough to check up on it. You know, I have to refill it every couple weeks, every about 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, week in the summer when it's really hot. But it's not an indefinite system that I can just ignore. When you get those systems that you can ignore forever, that's when you get, I think, really cataclysmic problems. This helps me keep an eye on the chickens enough to make sure that they have water and not ignore them. But I guess I don't really answer YouTube comments, but if you guys have any questions about the watering system, let me know. Also, something to consider is misters real quick I wanted to cover. So I have a mister system. And what I'll do is it's not on here right now. I had to use it for another application. But one, you want your mister system away from your feeders. Okay, so every time I have one of my automatic feeders, which I'll cover in a subsequent video here, you do not want to get your I gotta go call the cops. Stinking Tucson.